All right, all right, all right, all right. So we gonna try this again because I don't know, y'all. They really not trying to let your girl be great today. But anyway, happy Tuesday. Y'all welcome back to another episode of Black Girl Interrupted Podcast. You already know who it is. It's your girl Ash. I am back. Y'all, I feel so much better. Like these last couple of weeks have really just kind of drained me. Last week I had a migraine so bad. Y'all, but I'm here tonight. Like I'm here tonight. I'm here to stir the hornet's nest. I'm prepared to be blocked after tonight's episode. I'm prepared to receive the messages that say I'm a woman basher and I hate women and how can I hate women and if I'm a black woman and so I'm prepared for those types of messages tonight. But anyway, y'all already know it's your girl Ash. Again, happy Tuesday. I hope everyone has had a phenomenal week so far. Um, I haven't seen y'all in over a week because last week I really just wasn't feeling good. Blood pressure was up. But I'm good. I feel better today. I'm back taking my blood pressure medicine. So I'm good. I feel great. I feel better today. Uh, but here I am for a new episode. And it's messy. But I like it. But it's a much needed conversation because we're seeing these things happen far too often. And the children are always left holding the bag for the mistakes that parents make. Um, hey sissy, she say, yes. She's talking about you don't hate them. You tell them what needs to be said. Yes, I am. And tonight is it's a little juicy. Tonight, I'm actually traveling into some uncharted waters. We do see people have these types of conversations, but not in this capacity. So thank you for tuning in tonight. So, y'all already know what I do. Before I even get started, y'all know I do have to do my mental health check-ins. I do need to check in with everybody. I need to know, make sure y'all are good. Yesterday was Mental Health Awareness Day. Um, so of course that was on a Monday, and of course, I do my shows on Tuesdays and Wednesdays now. But um, I still advocate. I still do my mental health check-ins. I still have to make sure y'all are good. Because again, suicide rates are steadily increasing, not only in black women, but in black men. Um, so it's imperative that I check in with you. It's imperative that I always give you something encouraging, something uplifting, something empowering, because I want you guys to know that the journey does not stop. Although you may fall down, I want you to know that you can always get back up. I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to give in because that's exactly what the devil wants you to do. And I share this with you because these are my experiences. These are things that I've experienced in my life and what I still continue to experience. But I fight and I push through every day. So if I can get up here, even on my worst and my hardest days, I want you guys to do the same. So that's why I always start my episodes with a mental health check-in because I don't know what you're going through. Everybody doesn't post what they're going through, but I want you to know that somebody that a person like me, I'm thinking about you, that I want to love on you, I want to pour into you, and I want to encourage you to keep going. So this is why I do my mental health check-ins. Uh Tashina says, I'm here for the ride. Girl, just wait till you see what this topic is about tonight. It's a little petty, but I mean, hey, it is what it is. And actually a law has been passed with regards to the conversation for tonight, but we'll get into that. Um, so Sheena says, she says, I'm okay today. I was kind of down yesterday. And that's a beautiful thing because you made the wake up list today. So although yesterday may not have been good, today was better. And we have to give ourselves grace and to allow us to walk one foot in front of the other. We have to stop trying to do everything at one time. We have to take it day by day. We have to. So, for someone that is standing in the midst of a storm, for someone that just feels like I just can't do it, this video is for you. And then we're going to get into tonight's conversation.
When everybody is against you or don't believe in you no more. It's a lonely feeling. Oh, it hurts very badly. I know what that's like. They look at you with that look and say, why don't you try something else? Why don't you give up?
Get away from these people that's in your life that ain't doing nothing. Get away from people in your life that's hating. Get away from them. Get away from them. If you take an oak tree seed and you put it in a 2-foot pot, that seed will never become the oak tree that oak trees are capable of becoming, because it's gonna get stifled by the 2-foot pot. Now check this out. Ain't nothing wrong with the seed. Seed just fell prey to the environment. Don't you allow your environment to dictate the oak tree that you become.
Anytime you move from being normal to trying to be exceptional, people aren't gonna like that shit. Those normal people, it makes them feel like shit, so they're gonna judge you.
And that's why every true leader, they're called weird, they're called eccentric. When you do the things of real leadership, you're gonna be called strange. Get strong enough in your own skin that when people laugh at you or when they throw stones at you, you keep on going.
I respect any motherfucker that wakes up every day and work their ass off to live their life and lifestyle. Clubbing, partying, hanging out, that ain't for me. I'm gonna be out here running in the hot sun, practicing. While everybody else is clubbing and hanging out, you got your focus right.
Don't expect people to understand you. Don't expect it to make sense to anybody why you've got to do this, why you have got to go, why you leave. This is a good job. I'm going. They pay you well. I'm going. Why? I don't understand. You don't have to. I'm going for me. This is something I have got to do. How are you going to make it? I don't know, but I will. The universe responds to the man or woman that refuses to be denied, because that is your commitment. That business that you want, that book you want to write, that dream that you have of controlling your destiny, that is yours. That's available to you. But you've got to be willing to stand there and face disappointment, not have support, be lonely, doubt yourself sometimes, be rejected again and again and again, become bankrupt if necessary, again and again and again, and refuse to turn around until life gives it up.
Life will always be, to a large extent, what you make it, not what circumstances will make of it, not what other people will make of it, not what other people say it will be, not what the environment will try and dictate to you, but what you make of your life. So when you're uncommon, get ready for the criticism. When you're uncommon, get ready for the opposition. When you're uncommon, get ready for the common people not to understand you.
If I decided to experience the fear of rejection, the fear of no, the fear of failure, the fear of standing by myself, the fear of people not liking me, what else is available? Of taking a chance, a fear of losing it all. What else is available to me?
People are going to think you're crazy. You don't have nothing but lint in the corner of your pocket. You're out here talking about living your dream. And people laughing at you. And they're doubting you. It takes guts, ladies and gentlemen. But let me tell you, I believe in revenge like Frank Sinatra. He said the best revenge is massive success.
Instead of killing them with kindness, torture them with success.
So I really wanted to leave that with anybody that's standing in the midst of a storm right now. I just want you to know that I love you. I'm sending you a massive amount of love, and this is your winning season. It's going to be times where it gets uncomfortable and it doesn't feel good, but sometimes you have to get uncomfortable in order to get comfortable. So please know that regardless of where you are in life, keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. If you are around weeds, baby, clear them weeds out your garden, because that's the only way your flowers are going to bloom. And I'm going to leave it at that. So whatever it is you're going through, I love you. We got this. You're not by yourself. You're not alone. Because we're going to do this. We're going to come out on top. We're going to come out victoriously because God made us and created us imperfectly perfect. So your road and your journey is not going to look anything like mine, and mine is not going to look like yours. But just know we're all going to get to the finish line at different times, but we're all going to get there. So I just wanted to leave y'all with that. But I love y'all. I really, truly do. And let's jump into tonight's conversation. Because, baby, what I tell you, I'm seeing this far too often. I'm seeing this, just far too often, way too often. And it's really pissing me off. So Jewel says, hey, sis, I'm here and doing great. Don't be trying to ask me to do my fingers. I can't do all of that. But I love you too. Whatever. Y'all know what I be trying to do. Y'all know. I be often discombobulated. But I did post this for y'all. Hugs and love to anyone standing in the storm. This is your winning season. Don't give up. Keep going. And just know, take it one day at a time, day by day. Give yourself grace. You're going to fall down. You're going to mess up. But that doesn't mean you get down and you stay there. I'm telling you, I'm learning this. So as I'm learning y'all something because I'm giving it back to y'all. Everything I learn, I'm giving back to y'all. So I want you to always remember, this is your winning season. Don't never give up and keep going. No matter how many times you fall down, get back up. Get back up. Keep going. Start kicking these doors in. Start creating your own tables. If people don't make room for you at their tables, you make your own. Create your own table. Don't worry about everybody else. You get yours. All right. So we are getting into tonight's conversation. So me and my sister, we were talking about this, and this really actually came about with the situation where Kirk Franklin finding out after 53 years who his biological father really truly was. Let me say this. I know some of y'all women may get triggered tonight, but it's cool. And I really don't care. Because I am for the right when it comes to children. Whether it's the mama, the daddy, I'm for the right of the child. So tonight's conversation is mama's baby, daddy's maybe. Cha, 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 cha. So for those that have not watched the documentary of Kirk Franklin was on a journey to find out who his biological father was. He hadn't had a relationship. He hadn't spoken with his mother in 23 years. And for 53 years, he thought one man was his father, but come to find out it was another man. Again, we see this far too often in the community, especially in the older generation. We see them that will carry these secrets to the grave, not knowing how this affects the child. When the child really does find out who the biological father is, and the mother and the relatives really just kind of sweep it under the rug and say, oh, well, no, we don't know. Because at some point, you mothers that do this to your children, you need to take some accountability because you are the reason that these men create all these broken homes that have multiple children by multiple women and are not active participants in their children's lives because they mimic what you do. They've seen what you do. So you moms need to, I'm holding you mamas accountable tonight for this foolishness because at some point this needs to stop. Because not only do you hurt the man, but you hurt the child. And I think that's really selfish that you don't take into consideration what this will do to your child in the long run. Your lies will eventually catch up to you. So again, so for those that did not get to watch the documentary, here is a little clip of Kirk Franklin finding out who his biological father was. And then we're going to jump back into the conversation.
Probability of paternity?
Yes, ma'am.
100%. How's that possible? It's not, baby. I can swear on my dead mother's grave, Rick Hubbard is not your father. I don't know what happened, how this paternity test came back 99.95%. But I really would like to get to the bottom of it.
You hear me? You see the woman all next to her, just go ahead and tell. No, you should have
disenfriend yourself with her. If that's even a word. Disassociate yourself with that woman. You shouldn't even be around this type of spirit. That lady put it on her mama's grave that DNA test was wrong. Think about that, boy. These women would take a lie to the grave, and you wonder why all the women ancestors or all the ancestors in their grave.
Baby, what he said was dead on. Because even after 2 paternity tests, the mother still refused to acknowledge that that man is Kirk Franklin's father. And the sad part about it, again, like the gentleman said and like I just said, you do some serious damage to these children by lying to them. I just don't understand. Why do you do this? I get it. Maybe you wanted the other man to be the daddy, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go on and say it because, see, a lot of people, some of y'all be afraid to say this. Stop mismanaging your vagina. Okay? Let me go ahead and put that out there. Because you are creating and having these children and you're putting it off on these men and you know that that's not the child's father or the children's father. Own it. Take accountability for that. Say, you know what? I messed up. I slept with multiple men. Take accountability for that. I can attest to that because I was in that very same similar situation around the time and I've shared this with y'all. I had relations with 2 men around the same time that I got pregnant with my son. But the difference between me and Kirk Franklin's mother, I was pregnant when I told both of them, hey, you could be the father. It's a possibility you could be the father. It's a possibility that you could be the father. And after I had my baby, I think my baby may have been 4 or 5, maybe 6 months old when we did the DNA test. So I didn't wait until my child was 10 years old, 15 years old, 23 years old to tell him, oh, this is really not your biological father. I didn't do that because I knew what that would do to my child and to the man that would be thinking, oh, this is my son, this is my son, this is my son, and then come to find out it's really not. You need to nip that in the bud from the beginning. If you know women that you have slept with multiple men around the time that you conceived, around, let me say this, around your date of conception, own that. Own that. Yes, y'all be afraid because you don't want the man to go. You know, if you tell the man that you cheat, that you slept with somebody else, he's gonna go. Well, that was the risk you took when you laid down and opened your legs. So I don't feel bad for you. And it's time for the world to stop feeling bad for y'all and these continuous mistakes, especially when you know that that's not the father of your child. You know this. But you carry on this lie to keep the man around. And then when the man finds out that he's not really the child's father, now you sitting up here looking dumbfounded because now the man is leaving, has left because of your lie. And then y'all laugh about it. But these are the same men, again, that create these broken homes, that create these households with multiple children that they're not even active participants in their children's life. And y'all are okay with this. I see some of you women, and it's some of you women that's on my timeline that I know for a fact y'all have lied to men about these men being the fathers of your child or children. I know for a fact. But I'm not going to call y'all out because y'all like this. Oh, well, I just will take it to my grave. Okay. And then when your child finds out, then what? Then what? What do you have to say? You have men out here that are paying child support for children that don't even belong to them. All because you lied. All because you said, oh, yeah, you the daddy, you done got the man to sign the birth certificate. And then come to find out he's not even a daddy, but he's still responsible financially for taking care of a child that's not even biologically his. But I do commend the men that, even though that's not the child, that's not their biological baby, I commend the men that do stick around. I commend that. But I don't commend the women that drag on this lie. Like Kirk Franklin's mother. Again, they had 2 paternity tests and the results were the same. And for you to refuse to acknowledge that, just say, "You know what? I slept with another man around the time that you were conceived." Own that. In that moment, that's what she should have did. But for you as a mother to sit up there and say, "I don't know how this happened." You know how it happened. You slept with that man. That's how it happened. You laid down, you had sex with this man, and you ended up pregnant. Own that. Just say, "You know what? Let me just go ahead and acknowledge that," because you haven't even spoken to your son in 20 plus years. And this is the way you're trying to redeem yourself by saying, "Oh no, no, that's not your dad." Yes, it is. Whether you want to believe it or not, own that. Stop giving your cooter to everybody. You know the risk when you lay down with somebody. You either gonna end up pregnant or you're gonna wind up with a disease or something you can't get rid of. But if this is not who you want, you shouldn't have never laid down with him, or you should have used some type of protection. Whatever the situation was, it's not the child's fault. And this man has every right to know who his biological father is because he missed out. People don't realize what the effects of not knowing who your or not being able to have access to your biological father. You don't know what that does to the child. And that's actually one of the questions. Like, in your honest opinion or your thoughts, how does not knowing your biological father affect the child or the children? To me, and I'm gonna tell you what my comment was with regards to my answer to this question. Knowing how to identify your biological father is a crucial first step, whether you're interested in learning about your genetic heritage or you're seeking answers to vital issues about your family and your health. So again, there's that question. How does not knowing your biological affect the child or the children? What if your baby gets sick and the child needs a blood transfusion or the baby needs a organ or something? And then come to find out the father's not a match because they're not biologically related. How do you explain that to your child? How do you explain that to the man? How do you explain that to him? How do you go to a man and say, "For 15 years, I've been lying to you about this being your biological child. This is really not your biological child." How do you expect that child to react? Or how do you expect the man to react? Wouldn't you want your child to know where they come from? Wouldn't you wanna know if there's a health issue, can this person help your child? And I think that would be the most disheartening way to find out that that's not your biological child, is through a health crisis. Say the child that the child is dying, and the only way they can live is if they get a kidney. And then you come to find out that the man you've been calling dad all your life is not really your dad. I look at Kerry Washington's situation. For those that didn't watch her special on Hulu, she found out just what, last year, that her father is not her biological father, that she was conceived through a sperm donor. We see this far too often in the Black community. Women having babies with married men and the father is living down the street. That's Terrell Owens' situation. Mother's lying. You having these children. Dad lives right across the street, down the street, around the corner. Or you have the child calling this man uncle, and that's really the child's father. And that is the most upsetting and disheartening thing a child ever has to experience. Is all this time you've been thinking that this is your dad. I know they say blood don't make your family. I know that. But let's look at it as you've been told your entire life, this is your dad, this is your dad, this is your dad, this is your biological dad. Oh, no, it could be no one else. Only to find out that's not. I found a story of a man in Detroit, y'all. This happened maybe 6 years ago. When I saw this, I wanted to spit nails at the screen when I saw this man's story. This happened in Detroit. Here we go, and I'm going to get right back into the conversation.
Kelly, thank you. One man's life going through some unnecessary legal drama. This after receiving a letter that he had fathered a child with a woman he'd never even met. Now, vindication of sorts. It's a follow-up to a story I brought you earlier this year on his legal fight and what comes next.
She don't know me. How do you just put my name down? How do you just put anybody's names down? I don't know her, never seen her. Still to this day, haven't talked to her. And it just proved out that the baby has no ties to my name. Thankfully, the lady did bring the child in to get tested. And that's all I needed to happen.
This letter from friend of the court reads in part, Dear Mr. Smith, enclosed is a copy of the genetic test results, excluding you as the father.
Let's just set the record. I trust my husband because I know his character. Man of integrity.
I would like to say relief, but it's kind of like confirmation, really, because I already knew that I had no ties and no links to this child or this woman, and to have that letter come to my house, it was a little unnerving, but not from the standpoint of being caught up in something. It was a little unnerving that a letter like this could come to my house having no legitimacy to it.
We first brought you the story of D'Angelo Smith in late January when he presented some wild allegations against friend of the court in Berrien County. The initial letter sent to his home stated, a woman who we are not naming alleging him to be the father of her daughter, a child between the age of 1 and 2 years old.
She's a stripper from Detroit. We had a one-night stand at some hotel that we supposed to have been and went to, and this is a story that was told to me.
While playing the waiting game for the alleged mother to bring in the baby for a DNA sample, the school where D'Angelo Smith teaches received an inquiry for possible garnishment if things did not go in his favor.
Where it made it not something that was being alleged, now it's something that's being taken into action, and there's no paternity been established.
But clearly, these test results confirm that to no longer be the case.
With that being said, strong marriage or not, clean past or not, that's a very tough letter for anyone to receive.
Absolutely.
Without any proof.
Absolutely, it is. It is. The main things that they have to provide to the state of Michigan is a name and a birth date and where they live. That's easy information for someone to gather off of Google, off of Facebook, off of any kind of social media platform.
People who have checkered pasts, who have done things in the past, who have, stepped out and did things that was unbecoming of a real man, right? And so, but they've changed and they've cleaned up their act and they've gotten better, which all of us have the opportunity of doing or getting better. But a letter like this coming to that house, a man that has changed his ways, that has walked in a different direction, this letter could be absolutely devastating because of what you've done before.
We made several calls to lawmakers in Lansing who are familiar with this particular topic to get some answers.
It's very unfortunate, but paternity fraud is not a unique, unusual situation in Michigan. happen.
Senator Jim Runstead tells me he's been pushing for new legislation on the matter during the past 8 years, saying right now there's no penalty for lying.
Senator, what was the opposition for not passing this kind of legislation?
Well, maybe it would hinder mothers who don't want to name a particular guy or they made a mistake, but you had to knowingly name the wrong person. It becomes emotional stuff.
Respectfully, to mandate that DNA testing for the child is conducted first before a letter is sent to someone's home alleging they may be the father of a child regarding a woman whom they have never met, doesn't that seem like common sense type of legislation?
I tell you, Joshua, the common sense goes out the window. I'd be more than happy to put that bill in, and I'm telling you, it wouldn't even get a hearing in committee. I'll guarantee it wouldn't even get a hearing in committee. I ran across this before.
And the only reason I believe that this woman came in was because of Fox 2. Fox 2 provided a platform where the word got out, and this word spread it like wildfire quickly to the point where the lady came in. Now, I asked the courts, the friend of the courts, about bringing her in. They said, well, we just have to wait until she comes in. But I thank God that Fox 2 provided a platform where the lady was able to come in, but everybody does not have that opportunity for Fox 2 to show up at their doorstep to help them out.
A lot to wrap your head around, guys. Real quick, as we did in our initial story, we called friend of the court for a comment but have not heard back. In the meantime, Senator Jim Runstead tells me if you're caught in a similar situation, your best option is to hire an attorney if possible. Also, and this is very key, reach out to your lawmakers. The senator says more bipartisanship is much needed on this very touchy matter.
It could destroy a whole relationship. I mean, luckily, here's a guy that has, someone
he has a
in his
solid
life
household.
That's very some people would have packed up and left and said, I just don't believe you. You could have destroyed a life.
Bingo.
Unbelievable story. For them to send that to work. Can you imagine if you worked at a certain place and the rumors would start to spread?
Yes.
I mean, it is potentially not only family
definition of character in the public eye.
But your character and your life.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine how frustrated that family was while they were trying to get answers.
Highly frustrated, Amy and Jay. Highly frustrated because, again, you're getting an inquiry about your finances without even confirmation if you're connected to this particular case.
Yeah, where's the proof? Wow.
A lot more dialogue is needed on this matter in Lansing, for sure.
Thanks for bringing that to light.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Let me tell y'all, when I saw that immediately sent my blood pressure to 1,000. And I'm going to tell you why. Because paternity fraud is not a crime. Unfortunately, it's not. You have countless women that sit and pin babies on men every day, and you know damn well that that is not the father of that child. You women that do that, there is a hot place in hell that awaits you when your judgment day comes. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it, because we see this far too often. These men are stuck taking care of children that do not belong to them, that they are not biologically entitled to, and nothing is done. The only thing that a man can do to get any type of restitution, if he's spent any monies and wants to recoup it back, it has to be taken to civil court. She cannot be held criminally. Let me get because I'm so pissed off right now, y'all. Like, I really just don't even think that y'all know how upset this makes me. Because these women do this all the time. Jules says, she says, I remember this. That was crazy as hell. Absolutely. Because how can you just go to the courts and say, oh yeah, this is the father of my child, and for the man to get a letter at the school saying that they're about to garnish your wages, and you're like, what that? Wait a minute. And no criminal charges. The woman is not held criminally responsible for this. For lying, for frauding. You're defrauding the system. You're defrauding the system. Tashina says, this is why I love my husband. He supported me waiting to tell our son who his father really was. I kept open communication all the time for this moment. My son deserves to know who his father is. My son, even after meeting his real dad, calls my husband his father because he's all he knows. And that's the beautiful part about it, is that you gave him the opportunity. Some of these women don't even give the child the opportunity. They just carry the lie and run with it until they're faced with situations like this. And then when you come and you confront the mother about it, she thinks it's funny. It's a joke. It's not funny and it's not a joke because, see, you're playing with someone's livelihood. Not only have you affected someone's mental state, but you're affecting them emotionally. You're hurting the child because you want to be selfish, because you wanted this man to be the daddy and he's not the father. If that's who you wanted to be the father of your child, learn how to manage your vagina. Learn how to manage that. Ladies, take accountability for some of this. Yes, some of the men are to blame, but you women, this is you. You don't see men running down there saying, oh, this is. No. You have women that lie. I know people right now on my Facebook friends list that I know for a fact have lied about who their children's fathers really truly are. And I really, some days, I want to choke the hell out of y'all because I'm looking at you and I'm like, and you know that that's not their child's dad. Oh, let me take a deep breath because I said I was not going to let this upset me, but it does because I have a son. I have a son. And I would never want a woman to do my son that way. I have 2 daughters, and I would never want my daughters to do a man that way. To pin a child on him, and you know that that child don't belong to him. This is why I'm having this conversation. Because there are a lot of children out here who are walking around or thinking that this person is their dad and that's really not their father. This upsets me. It infuriates me. And it even takes me back to and I'm going to trigger some of y'all because some of y'all mamas did this. Some of y'all grandmamas did this. And your family members knew about it and they upheld the bullshit. They upheld the bullshit. They co-signed the foolery that some of your relatives have done. Hell, you even got relatives that are raising the children and telling the child that that's their mama. No, tell this child early on. Give that child a choice. Give that child the option to decide what they want to do. If that child doesn't want to deal with you, then that's your fault. That's your cross to bear, baby. That's not the child's responsibility to carry your load. That's not the child's fault. You're responsible. You're accountable for bleeding on that child. Your foolishness and your lies. At some point, women, you need to hold yourself accountable because guess what? These men are who you raise. These are the men that you give birth to. These are some of the daughters you give birth to. And you uphold the foolery that your daughters do. Start calling them people out on their bullshit. I'm just going to say it. And I'm talking to some of your aunties. I'm talking to some of your grandmothers, your cousins. I'm talking to y'all. It's not just so much the younger generation, but it's the older generation. Y'all are trying to take these secrets to the grave. And then after you're gone and the child finds out, then what? Then what? The child is still left to pick up the pieces of your past. Y'all better be mindful. What that old saying, what you do in the dark always finds its way to the light. Put it in the light before it finds its way there. You got people that are losing their lives behind lies. The lies that you women are telling. Behind these stories and these scenarios that y'all are creating all because you trying to hold on to the man. Girl, let that man go. Because the baby ain't gonna make a man stay. A man will only want to be kept if he wants to. It don't matter how many children you have, no matter how many babies you try to pin on him. If that man wants to go, baby, that man gonna go. Let that man go. Y'all just really I'm telling you. So Tashina says, women who do this to innocent men or use their children as pawns to get their way irk my entire soul. The courts need to support the fathers too, especially the ones who are there for their kids. This is traumatic for the child. Right. Tashina says it should be. And paternity fraud should be a crime. Women should be penalized for this criminally. I don't care if it's probation, restitution. I think women that collect child support from men and you knowingly know that that's not the father of your child, I think you need to pay that restitution back. I think you need to have your wages garnished. I said it. I did. I think you need to pay that man back. So Jules says, it's sad that all it takes is for a woman to go down there and give a man's name and they throw the man on support. Right. And there's no paternity laws in Michigan. Before I jump into the rest of these comments, here's another story. Out of Detroit, Michigan, for a man who had to go turn himself in. Here we go.
Information in a story first exposed about the state ordering a Detroit man to pay child support for a kid that everybody agrees isn't his.
As 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell tells us, the court has made him a wanted man until he pays up.
When I exposed this story, I thought someone a friend of the court would fix a clear injustice. Instead, a warrant has now been issued for Carnell Alexander's arrest. For him, it's deja vu. In 1991, during a traffic stop, Carnell Alexander got a shock. Police arrested him. His crime? Being a deadbeat dad.
I knew I didn't have a child, so I was kind of blown back.
He told 7 Action News he would later learn this happened because his ex needed help.
I had to turn to welfare to get assistance to take care of them, and I had to put him down as the father. That was the only way I can get assistance.
That started a paternity case. A process server then turned in this paper saying Carnell had been notified at a house in Highland Park. So when he didn't show up at court, he was legally listed as dad. The problem? Carnell didn't get notified. He wasn't even at a house in Highland Park. He was in prison for a crime he committed as a young man. And by the time he learned about the paternity case, judges told him it was too late. Legally, he owes the state more than $30 grand for assistance paid to care for a child.
I did not father, that I did not biologically create or spend any time with throughout my life. I find that very unfair.
Carnell says he won't pay. He tells me tomorrow he will turn himself in.
I will go to jail if I have to because I'm tired of the situation of the mishandling of the case.
I don't think that's right.
Murray Davis from the National Family Justice Association says there are thousands of men in Carnell Alexander's shoes because Michigan does not have paternity fraud laws that protect men.
Michigan does not recognize paternity fraud in the sense that a person who has been found not to be the father is relieved of those obligations.
I did reach out to a friend of the court and was told that they cannot comment on open and active cases. Carnell, in the meantime, plans to go to court and turn himself in tomorrow with his attorney, who hopes to convince a judge to let him go free. We'll let you know what happens. Kim Russell, 7 Action News.
All right, Kim, certainly a lot of people watching that.
Let me take a deep breath. So let me really kind of process all of this because this man was in prison when this child was even conceived. And all because you needed assistance, you just decided to put a name down so you could get assistance. If that ain't a crime, I don't know what it is. Because that's almost saying, I'm going to go down and no, I can't have no more children. I'm going to go get somebody baby and go put my fiance name on there. And no, I can't have no more babies. I could just pick a rent, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, yeah, I want you to be the baby daddy. Let me put your name down. Let me go down there with your information. That seems to be the thing. That seems to be all that they care about. So Jules says, sad part is the system gets a kickback off of every case. The system needs a major overhaul. Oh, yeah, they do. Of course they do. And I know here in the state of Texas, if you apply for any type of assistance, you have to put the man on child support. You're required to produce the man's name. Or of course you could lie and say, well, you don't know who the father is. Tashina says they don't care. That bitter baby mama syndrome is real, sis, and it's sad. Accountability needs to be had with us women. We need to do better. I absolutely agree because my brother is going through that. His daughter is 16 now. He's going through that with the baby mom. So Malcolm says, shaking my head. Tashina says, woo, this is the mess that boils my blood. She said, you know, women brag about ruining people's lives like this. Absolutely. And the sad part about it is they know for a fact this man was in prison. So there's no possible way that he could have biologically procreated a child with this woman. And you heard the woman say, I needed assistance. So I went down there and I put his name down there. So, and this was 6 years ago. So I didn't see, I was looking to see if maybe there was an update with with that one. Again, that was 6 years ago. And I didn't see anything. So I pray that it worked out in that man's favor. Because that's sad to get pulled over and that they're taking you to jail for a baby that you know you didn't biologically create. And the man said, I'm willing to go to jail. And the woman knew that he wasn't a father. The man said, I was in prison. How could he have created a child? He was in prison. But this is the narrative. This is what women do. And again, I'm gonna talk to you, the older generation. I'm talking to your aunties. I'm talking to your grandmothers. I'm talking to your mamas that have done this, that have lied. And then I've seen stories where people have found out doing what is it, the 21 and me? What is it, the DNA? Where people are trying to, what is it, the 21 and me or whatever it is? I've seen stories where people have found out that this person is not really their mom or this person is really not their dad because they're trying to put a family tree together. They're trying to know, there you go, 23 and me. That's what it is. Tashina say 23 and me. Baby, I knew it was somebody, 22 and me, Mike and Mac and me. I knew it was somebody, 20 somebody and me. But I've seen stories where people have found out that this is not their biological mother or this is not their biological father, trying to find out their heritage. Where do I come from? We see these stories, but these women are not penalized for this. And this is the part that upsets me. Jewel says, she said, that's BS. So you lied to get support, even with them knowing this was all a lie, and you want $30,000 from this man, and she will only get a small portion of that. This just pissed me clean off. And it does. But this is what they do. These women go down there, or the man was never active in a child's life. They put the man's name on a birth certificate without a paternity test, and the man is automatically ordered to pay child support. Hold up. Wait. Let's get some DNA established. Let's get Dana around here. Let Dana tell me that I have to take care of this child, because you're not just going to put a child on me if I don't know that if this child belongs to me or not. And that's what the state is doing. This is what the system is doing to these men. I was reading 1 out of every 10 1 in 10 women does not know who the father of their child is. 1 in 10 women. 1 in 10. 1 in 10 women do not know who their children's father is. Their child or their children's father. Malcolm says it's a very sad situation that these men are going through. There are issues when they have no parts of these children's lives. Right. Jules says she needs to be locked the fuck up, and she does. But again, paternity fraud is not a crime. But that goes into, should women go to jail for paternity fraud? I'm gonna be honest with you. Absolutely. Because not only have you scammed the man, but you scammed the system. Isn't that federal? Isn't that a federal offense? By scamming government agencies, like lying to get food stamps or lying to get, uh, any type of government assistance, whether it's food stamps, whether it's TANF, whether it's Medicaid, anything. I think women should go to jail for paternity fraud because, again, we're seeing this far too often. I pulled another video. Let me just say, y'all, brace yourself for this, but I want to talk a little bit more before I even jump into the video. But back to what I was saying, should women go to jail for paternity fraud? Absolutely. Because I think, to me, you scam the you scam the system. You scam the government for assistance by knowingly and intentionally putting a man's name down that you know is not is not the father, biological father of your son, of your child or your children. You've knowingly done this. So you've knowingly committed a crime intentionally for the betterment of you. So why is that not a crime? Why are they not making these women pay back these benefits that they got for lying? But I can tell you one state that has passed the law for paternity fraud, and that's Tennessee. And that is House Bill 2689, I believe. 2689. There you go. And that bill was passed March of 2022 or March 2023. But I know it was up on the table, but it's been passed. That House bill has been passed in Tennessee that is saying before an unmarried father signs a birth certificate, paternity test is required. Hello? Paternity test is required. Unmarried. Hell, you know what? Let me say, I think that should go for married people. Because I know married couples right now. Women married, have stepped outside of their marriage, have had children with other men, and all the while you got this man, your husband, believing that these are his biological children, and they're not. Everybody saw the movie, The Family That Prays. Everybody saw that movie, and you saw what she did. You had this man believing all these many years that this was his son, when really that was your side piece's child. And no wonder you got slapped across that counter for that. Because it was almost, yeah, this not your baby. I would have slapped you across that counter too, if I was a man. Because you let that man believe that that was his son or his daughter. And you don't care. Y'all don't care. You don't feel like you've done anything wrong. You don't feel like you should be held accountable. But I feel like you do. I feel like you should pay some type of restitution. I feel like you should go to jail for 180 days. And you need to think about that. Because that's unfair. That's absolutely unfair to the child. Because you're using, like Tashina says, you're using your child as a pawn in a game, in a cat and mouse game that you're playing with this man. For what? And then you wonder why and then you mothers wonder why you end up in nursing homes. It's for the foolishness that you do. It's for the foolery that you do. It's for the mockery and the fuckery that you guys keep up. All by, you could have just ended this by just telling the truth. I understand. You wanted Ricky to be your baby daddy. I get it. But unfortunately, Darnell is the daddy. But you knew the risk. You knew the chances of sleeping with two men at the same time. You knew this. Or 3 men, or 5 men, or 10 men. However many it was you slept with around the time that you got pregnant. You knew this. You knew the risk. But why should the child pay for your mistakes? That's the part that hurts me. And the saddest part of all of this is you got people that co-sign for this. You got family members that uphold you in your buffoonery, that know this, and walk around and carry your secret, all because you're afraid of what the child is going to say, how the reaction is going to be. Did you think about that when you laid down with that man? Did you think about that as you carried that child? Did you think about that after you gave birth to the child and you still carried on and continue with this lie? And then you find out that then your child finds out because your child is sick. Your child needs a blood transfusion or needs some type of transplant. Then you have to tell your child then what? Then what? Then what are you left to do? What are you left to say? It's sad to me because these children are so innocent. These children don't ask to come here. Tashina says, DNA is what saved my husband from this trap. His ex tried that. If his sister didn't have him do a test, he would have gotten caught up. She told him her daughter was his, knowing he wasn't. And that's what I'm talking about. This is this right here, what you just said, Tashina, this right here, this comment right here is what gets men caught up. This right here. These women that want to play these little cat and mouse games. You're lying, you're scamming because you're trying to get assistance. So let me go put this man's name down here and say he's the daddy. Let me just Google somebody's name and put this man, like the first man. He didn't even know the woman. But then he gets a wage garnishment sent to his place of employment that he's got to pay child support for a child that don't even belong to him. With a woman that he doesn't even know. Jules says, yes, she should. They lock that man up for non-payment. I say, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Lock her ass up, and they should. Because again, isn't that like a federal crime? Again, I'm going back because you're scamming the system for support by fraudulently putting a man's name down there that you know is not the father of your child. And it's just, it does something to my spirit because women are okay with this. This continuously happens. Again, 1 out of every 10 women doesn't know who their child belongs to. 30% of DNA tests come out negative. 30%. 30%. Tashina says they use their love and affection for the child and their name and status to get assistance. That's wild to me. This definitely should be a crime. Well, again, in the state of Tennessee, it is now. They passed that House bill that unmarried fathers have to take a paternity test before they sign the birth certificate. And the saddest part, guess who gave them the pushback? The Department of Health and Human Services gave them the pushback with regards to this bill. Are you serious? Department of Child and Family Services gave them pushback So y'all don't feel like the man should know if this is biologically his child or not? You don't feel like the child should know that this is their biological father? That makes 0 sense to me. And Imma tell you why it makes 0 sense to me. Because this is what happens with situations like this.
Explain how you found out who your father was.
Well, I think everybody knows that has read the book, and for the ones that don't know, I mean, he stayed right across the street. Obviously, it was one of those relationships that he had outside of his marriage, and obviously he had me, and I didn't know, and I guess they were trying to keep it quiet, for a period of time till.
Your mother and your grandmother didn't tell you initially?
No. So I didn't know who my dad was, and I have 2 other sisters, and the older of the 2 sisters, I thought her dad was my dad. And so it wasn't until, like I said, it was a small town, so I stayed right across the street. I stayed with my grandmother, so my dad lived across the street, and my mom stayed, elsewhere. And, just like all kids play in the neighborhood, as a teenage boy, started liking one of the girls in the neighborhood, and he caught, wind of that and heard that I was liking my sister, and again he felt that he had to tell me that the girl that you're in fact liking, that's your sister, so can't go down that road.
How old were you?
I think I was around like 10, 11. I wasn't even a teenager yet.
How close are you and your father now?
I mean, we're not as close, but I mean, if there's a need to communicate, we do, but I mean, not as close as a father and son, I would say, should be. But considering, the inactivity of us and him being involved in my life, I mean, you can't really expect more than what it is right now.
How do you think, looking back, that affected you growing up?
It has affected me growing up because I never had that father figure in the household, to, do things with their sons. As one would do. So I mean, I always had my mom or my grandmother, had an occasional uncle here and there, but they were doing their own thing, starting their own lives, had their own kids, and so I wasn't much of a priority or a responsibility for them. So I was sort of like just a loner in a sense. But like I said, I had two great individuals in my mother and my grandmother that did a great job.
And you touched on this some already, but like, what about that situation do you think's impacted you as a father?
I think it's impacted me somewhat in a negative and a positive way. I understand the negatives, and I think in order to correct those negatives, I had to take it upon myself to take more of a different or a proactive approach to be in my kids' lives. And so again, I'm not with any of the mothers, so it's hard to have that day-to-day interaction or contact, but I try, and I tend to, when I have them, make those moments count. Despite the lack of time that I share, with them, but when I'm with them, I try to make the most of it and make those moments last.
And that's what I mean right there. That's another reason, not knowing who your biological father is, how that affects you. You heard him say, my father lived right across the street. I was a product of an outside relationship my father had with my mother. But my father lived across the street. And then the girl that I liked was my sister. Now, do you see how that affects the child? We see these stories, y'all, every day where siblings end up married. Just not too long ago, I was reading about a married couple who found out that they were brother and sister. This is why. This right here. What this is how it affects not knowing who your biological father is. That's the question. How does not knowing your biological father affect the child or the children? That video just pointed it out to you. Terrell Owens did not have a good relationship. He was not active in his children's lives. I remember when he was on Dr. Phil, and he talked about that. This is the damage that the lies do to children. Not only do you have to worry about that, but now you got to worry about these children who don't know their siblings end up together. Terrell Owens just said it himself. He was like 10 or 11 years old when he found out who his biological father was, and then the girl that he liked was his sister. You women, this is what y'all do. This is what you create. Mom, y'all need to take accountability for that. That's the type, this is, like I said, how does not knowing your biological affect the children? We just told you. We just said it. He didn't have a positive role model, a male father figure in his life. And the daddy lived right across the street. And the mama knew about it, and the grandmother knew about it. He was like 10, 11 years old when you finally told him. At some point, his father needs to take accountability, and mama, you need to take accountability because you carried on a relationship with a married man. Yes, the man knew he was married, but we as women, y'all, we have the right to cut it off. We have the right to end it, not continue it, because then children come into play. And then the children are left to carry the brunt of the bullshit of a situation that you and this man have created together. And then you lie. You don't want anyone to know. You withhold this information. And then we end up with situations where the brother and sister end up in a relationship, or cousins end up married, end up having babies, all types of stuff. And then what? How do you come back from that? How do you recover from that? So Jules says, because they get a cut, she's going back to my previous statement. She says, because they get a cut of the money, they don't care about the truth. They only care about the pieces of money the state gets out of that payment. Absolutely. So again, anybody could run down there and put somebody's name on a birth certificate and you get assistance. Y'all don't even check. Y'all don't even check. And that's the part that hurts and upsets me is, again, y'all pin these children on these men. The children are left to hold the bag of the pain. And mama has nothing to say for it other than, I don't know how this can't be right. Yeah, it's right. Have we had some cases where Dana was wrong? Yeah. Have we had situations where mama knew or the man knew, but he still stuck around for the sake of the child? Yeah, we get a lot of situations like that. But tell the child up front. Give the child that choice to decide and say, I still want to be, or I don't, I still want to be an active participant in a child's life. Stop forcing these men to do it. But that's appears to be what the system is doing. Like Jules says, they don't care. All they care about is the money. And you can't put a price tag on pain. You can't do that. Because that hurts the child. That devastates the child. Now you have a child that's lost. that doesn't know if they're coming or going, doesn't know who to believe, doesn't know what to believe, and are left still trying to figure out their identity. Who am I? Where did I come from? And mama withheld it for her own selfish reasons. Maybe you did it to protect the child. Maybe you were in an abusive relationship. I don't know. But you have some women that do this out of spite. And there's no recourse for it. They're not reprimanded in any kind of way. So again, that goes back to my question. Should women go to jail for paternity fraud? Yes. Yes, they should. I feel like you should pay the restitution back for every dime that that man has spent on that child up until he finds out that the child is his or not. I feel like women, you need to be held liable for that. I really do. I feel like you should give that man every dime that he has spent on that child from the beginning. I feel like a wage garnishment should be sent to your job, your place of employment. I feel like you need to be arrested and you need to be taken to jail and you need to sit in jail for 180 days or maybe even a year. I don't know. But I absolutely do agree that women need to go to jail for paternity fraud. Because again, we see this all far too often. We see these women that lie for their own selfish reasons. And then what about the child? What happens to the child? Can we start thinking about the children and their feelings first before we think about ours? Because I always thought that when you had a child, it stopped being about you. It started being about the child. But this upsets me. Every time I come across stories like this where women are defrauding the system. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Defrauding the system for their own personal gain and using the children as a pawn, like Tashina says, to get what it is that you want. And nothing happens to you. Nothing happens to you. And I think that's very disheartening. Not only for the man, but the child. Because at this point, I'm concerned with the child, with the baby. Because they're innocent in all of this. These children don't ask to come here. These children are forced into situations that they're not asked to be put in. But you mothers don't stop to think about that. You think that, well, if I don't tell him that this is his, my child will love me even more. I just don't want. If you tell your child the truth, maybe you wouldn't have to worry about the child loving you less. Be honest. Because those lies break up homes. We look at the first story I presented to you. What if that man didn't have a strong wife, a strong background that knew her husband's character? She said, I knew. And then men are left out here in the cold. While women go on about their merry little lives with the little lies that they've told. Because you do realize when you tell one lie, you have to tell another lie to cover up that first lie. And you have to consistently keep on lying and lying and lying. This is what you consistently have to keep doing. When you could just end all of that by just telling the truth in the beginning. I get it. Maybe you're trying to protect the child from an abusive husband, abusive boyfriend. I don't know. But you have some women that are just doing it for their own selfish needs. Also, she could get some assistance. I had to put somebody's name down, so I'm going to put his name down. But that's not the daddy. So why would you do that? Because that's going to affect him in the long run. Because he's caring for a child that doesn't even belong to him. And he's forced because the system makes him do it. And there's no recourse for you for your lives. Tell me how the math is mathing. Because it's really not. So again, on my stance, do I feel like women should go to jail for paternity fraud? Absolutely. Lock her ass up. Lock her up and make her pay restitution. And then the man should go right behind that and file a civil suit and get all your money back. And sometimes it really don't even be about the money. It be the principle. It's the fact that you had me thinking all these years that this was my child or my children, and it really wasn't. We see this all the time. And I'm gonna say this to all you men. If you are in a situation or have experienced a situation like this, take her ass to court. Take her to civil court and get your money back. Because she lied. Unfortunately, you cannot criminally penalize her, but I think civilly you should. And I know sometimes it don't even be about the money, but it should be on the principle. It should be on the fact that you lied to me, that you told me that this was my child, or you told me these were my children, and you knowingly knew that these were not my children or this was not my child. You knowingly did this. You defrauded me. You went and defrauded the system. So absolutely, lock their ass up. If you when you read those forms, when you're applying for food stamps, when you're applying for any type of medical assistance or you're applying for TANF, it tells you if you knowingly defraud the system, it could be punishable by what? Up to 5 years in prison and what, a $10,000 fine? I think you need to penalize those women for knowingly and intentionally going down to the courthouse or to these health and human services departments and intentionally putting a person's name on the birth certificate that you know is not the father of your child or your children just for your personal gain. Lock them up. I absolutely wholeheartedly agree. Unfortunately, some women may not even agree with me, but those are the ones that would do this type of shit. The women that don't agree, y'all are the type of women that would lie and defraud and scam the government for your own personal gain. Y'all are the ones that will uh, intentionally put a child on a man and you know that's not his child or his children. We see these women that go on these paternity shows. Maury Povich, Paternity Court with Judge Lauren Lake. We see this all the time. And they sit up there. I'm adamant. I know he's the father of my child. I know it. There's no way possible. I didn't sleep with anyone else until that DNA comes out and says he's not the father. Then what? So you got so you got pregnant by immaculate conception? You had a baby with Jesus Jerome Jackson? No, you didn't. Just go ahead and sit out there and say, you know what? I did. I slept with another man, or I slept with 2 different men, or I slept with 5 different men around the time that I conceived, and it's a possibility you may or may not be the father. Give them that opportunity to stick around or leave. Stop forcing these men into situations that they're not asked to be put into. Because I see you women that do it. Y'all force men and push their backs against the wall. So it's like you're conning them into being fathers of children that don't biologically belong to them. Stop doing that. Let him make the decision. Let him decide and say, you know what? I want to be a part of this child's life. I know biologically the child is not mine, but I love this child. I've grown and I have a bond with this child. You let the man decide. Stop forcing the men to take care of children that do not biologically belong to them. If they say they don't want to do it, stop forcing them to do it. Stop going down there, getting public assistance and lying and just putting any random man's name down on the list for your own personal gain. And I'm going to say that again. Because we see this all the time. We see these children that are hurt. Malcolm says 100. We see this. We see this all the time. These women, you're lying. For what? And these children are left to pay. These children are the remnants of your past. That's why in my situation, I let it be known early when I was still pregnant, baby in the womb. When I found out I was pregnant, I immediately, hey, it's a possibility you could be the father. It's a possibility this person could be the father. It wasn't 5 different people I didn't wait until my son was 10 years old. I didn't wait until my child was 15 years old. I found out when my baby was like 6 months old. Took the DNA test. I wanted to know. My child deserved to know. My child had the right to know. And I think that's where a lot of you women drop. You so selfishly think about you and you don't think about the child. But at the end of the day, it's not even about you. It's about the best interest of the child. Be honest. Tell the truth. Stop lying. Because this is what we're seeing more and more every day. But we also see this too. Women not telling your child who their father is. You create households just like this.
And what did you say to yourself when you were out there playing and there was nobody there to watch you, cheer you on, to be proud of you when you did well or tried hard?
It never really dawned on me.
When it dawned on you, what did you think?
It made me sad, you know, to a point that I realized, yeah, I didn't have a dad for the majority of my life. And again, anybody that has followed my career, they knew that, you know, I didn't know who my dad was till I was like 10 or 12. And surprisingly as it may seem, he lived right across the street from me.
So, but at that point, you realized that there was a void in your life.
Yes, I did.
And that's a void that will be in each of these children and your other child's life unless you decide to put this on project status.
Right.
And I'm one of those people that believe that the father has a critical role for male children and female children. Boys and girls, they've got a critical role for each. For the boys, you're the most powerful role model that your son will ever have. He will look at what you do. He will listen to what you say. He will emulate things about you. You have the ability to be a tremendously powerful role model in that young man's life. For your daughters, I can tell you that the more removed you are from them, the more vulnerable they are to get picked off by some guy taking advantage of them. If dad's there that says you are special, you are a princess, love yourself, value yourself, care for yourself, protect yourself, and I love you unconditionally, then when some old boy comes along and says, hey, I love you, so come over here with me and let me use and abuse your body, they'll say, wait a minute, I don't need that from you. I got that from my daddy. My daddy loves me. He values me. He's taught me to love myself. They're not going to be picked off by some guy. Those are messages that whether you feel they're received well or not, they need to hear. They need to get that from you. Do you agree with what I'm saying?
I totally agree. Because the first love that I had in my life for a man was my father. That's the very first love that I have. And she can't get that from my dad. She can't get that from my brother. She needs to get that from you.
And whether you like her or not, she's speaking the truth as a daughter. Now, you can question her motives, you can question everything else, but she's speaking the truth as a daughter. And that's what I want you to think about, because you have an opportunity, because it's not too late. You have an opportunity to say, look, these kids are not going to get caught up in the middle of this, and I'm going to tell the three of you something. If you do anything aggressively or passive aggressively or just whatever to block his relationship with his children, and you think, hey, I can do it because I've got control of them, they're with me, and I can say and do or keep away, whatever, trust me, the day will come that will bite you in an ugly, ugly way.
Yes, it will.
Because the day will come where these kids get smart. They figure it out. And they say, you know, my daddy wasn't in my life, and he could have done a better job, but my mother, she sure made it an uphill battle, and I resent her for that. If you do that, they will perceive that. They will pick that up. So you don't want to do that. And all of you guys need to sit down, and whatever the math is or isn't, I mean, you can't get blood out of a turnip. If he doesn't have the money, things are going to change. If he does, they won't at some point. But aside from the money, aside from the math, you guys need to stop these hostilities because it's your child that's picking up the tab.
And that's exactly why I played that video, because this is what happens. The children are left to pick up the bag. And although I don't like or agree with a lot of things that Dr. Phil says, I had to agree with him on that because mothers, mothers, you make it difficult for fathers to have relationships with their children. And you have to stop doing that. Regardless of what happened with now, I will say this before I even go back into my comment that I was about to make. The only way I uphold you from keeping the child away from the father or the children away from the father is if the man is abusive to you and has been abusive to you or to the children. That's the only way I will co-sign. But if that man is actively trying to have a relationship with his children, move out of the way because it's not about you. You women are so bitter and you are so selfish that you only think about you and you don't think about your children. You play these cat and mouse games. You play chess with your children. You utilize these children as pawns in a game for your own personal gain. And I think it's sickening to me. That goes back to the lies that you tell your children. Because when you do things like that, it leads to situations like this. Terrell Owens just openly admitted and said, the void that I had by my father not being in my life has created a void in my children's lives. That's what I mean when I say we have to stop cutting ourselves and bleeding on the children because the children do not ask to come here. That's first and foremost. You women need to put your selfishness to the side and put your children first. I'm holding you women accountable for the foolery that you guys do to these men and to the children. See, you create this foundation that's built on lies. And guess what? Every lie that you tell, it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And then when it all topples down, because the foundation is shaky anyway, it's only you to blame. Stop forcing men into situations they don't ask to be in. Stop cutting yourself and bleeding on your children because of your lies and your deception. We see this far too often. And again, the only person that gets hurt in the midst of this game is the child or the children. And you mothers can't even answer that. You can't even give your child. Why? Why did you? I don't know. That's not a good enough reason. You need to sit down. And I'm saying this to you mothers. Sit down and you need to start being open and honest with your children. Start telling them the children the truth, no matter how painful it is. Because if you tell me, I will respect you more with the ugly truth than a pretty lie. I would respect you more if you gave me the ugly truth and not a pretty lie. Instead of dressing up the lie with a bow and a ribbon and cake and candles, I'm gonna respect you more with the ugly lie than the beautiful truth. I'm so sorry. The ugly truth and a beautiful lie. But you women do this every day. Every day you do this. Every day. And because of that, I feel this way. Should paternity tests be mandatory? Yes. Boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, absolutely. I feel like the moment that baby is pulled out and the moment that baby let out that first cry, y'all need to be in that baby mouth with a Q-tip. Because this needs to be nipped in the bud at the gate. This doesn't need to be carried on for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, 50 years. This needs to be nailed shut from the gate. I feel like the moment that baby open his mouth and cry, y'all need to be running in that swabbing that baby mouth, and that man need to be in there. Y'all need to be swabbing his mouth. DNA test need to be done right then at the date of birth. Hell, even if it's the next day. But I feel like before that baby leaves the hospital, paternity test needs to be done. And I stand behind that. Because and I'm gonna tell you why I stand behind that. Because there are too many men out here that are being manipulated and connived because of a lie. As soon as that baby's mouth opens, as soon as that baby say, "Wah," I need the Q-tip in the baby's mouth, I need the daddy mouth swab, and I need that sent down to the lab. But before that child leaves the hospital, paternity test needs to be administered. I don't give it. Fellas, get you an attorney and you get that order. That before the baby leaves, we need the paternity test. Get you an attorney. I'm giving you men the game to what we women do. We lie to y'all. We manipulate. We gaslight for the sake of our own good. And we don't think about anybody else. As long as it makes us happy, we don't give a damn who it hurts along the way. We don't care. And that's a sad, sad way to think. And this is the older generation. You got the new generation that's doing that too, but you have the older generation. So do I feel like paternity tests should be mandatory? Absolutely. Tashina says, fresh out the womb, DNA should be mandated, and it should. I mean, the moment that baby have his first, I mean, before you put the titty in that baby mouth, or you put the bottle in the baby mouth, or the pet, whatever it is you put in that baby mouth, that Q-tip needs to go in there first. Because I'm sick of y'all. I'm sick of y'all defrauding the government, and I'm sick of y'all defrauding these men. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of y'all waiting 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. Some people are passing away with these secrets. And then the children are left with unanswered questions. But y'all don't care. As long as it benefits you, that's all that matters. Y'all don't care who you hurt. Y'all women don't care who you step on along the way. As long as it doesn't affect you. But then you got the men that want to do. And y'all make it difficult because you mad. Tashina says, they also need to get their children legitimized as well. Many don't know that doing this will give the man a leg up when it comes to custody and child support. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because as long as we make paternity tests mandatory, maybe this will curtail some of these broken homes that are created by these men who have a void, who have this hole in their lives, and they can't even be productive to their own children. And I won't say all men, because you do have some men that didn't have their fathers in their lives that grew up and became wonderful fathers. But then you have some that didn't turn out to be quite good fathers. But this is what we go through. This is what men deal with on a day-to-day basis. This is what they deal with. Tashina says to the fellas, stop letting these women get over on you all. Gain your peace by breaking these generational curses. Absolutely. Get those damn paternity tests. If you need me to go down there with you, baby, let's go down there. Because you know what? I don't want you to be another man in any one of those stories that we've talked about tonight. I don't want to see another black man go to jail for child support for a child that he's not financially responsible to take care of. That's what I want. I want children to be able to grow up knowing who their fathers are. Moms, I want you to put your pride to the side and own that. Take accountability for that and say, you know what? I messed up. I messed up. But let me make this right. Let me make this right, not for me, but for my child. My child deserves the truth. My baby deserves to know my secrets. I know it's painful because you don't know what's going to come about with you revealing the secret, but again, I would rather you kill me with the ugly truth than to present me a pretty lie. You never know what may have that may change the perception in the relationship with the mother and the child or the children. Maybe if you sit down, but be honest with them. Don't lie. Because unfortunately, in Kirk Franklin's situation, his mother didn't want to take accountability for it. She just still kept saying, this is not your father. This is not your father. I don't know how. Yeah, you know. But that was her having to deal with the truth. And a lot of y'all can't handle the truth. A lot of y'all aren't ready to put that on the forefront. A lot of y'all are not ready to take accountability for the things that you've done. But I would respect you more. The child or the children will respect you more as long as you're honest. Give that child the option to decide if they want to have a relationship with the biological father or not. You just don't know. You just don't know. You never know what the outcome is going to be. But again, and I'm going to say this one more time. Stop cutting yourself and bleeding on your children. Because situations like this, and this is why I wholeheartedly believe paternity tests should be mandatory.
Can we talk about the DNA testing center? I had two guys call in. They work at DNA testing centers. One guy had to quit. One guy still works there. He told me 40% of the children are not the man's child. 40%. He said 40%.
Somebody call Maury.
It's usually
make DNA testing
it's two
mandatory.
It's two scenarios. It's where the woman, the person's getting a DNA test because the woman claims that is their child. Turns out it's not. The other one is where the parent is on the deathbed and makes a confession, or they need a liver transplant, blood transfusion, and the blood type. There's no way that can actually be the father. So then they find out that because of medical reasons. You mean that's not my father? Then the father finds out from that way. He said it took such a toll on him that he could no longer do it because he would be sitting on the phone counseling the men and the grown children who these women falsely accused.
You see what I'm talking about? 40% of DNA tests come back negative. 40%. Should paternity tests be mandatory? I just gave y'all all the information. 40%. Imagine having to be on the other end of that call, of that phone, and having to notify someone, you're not the biological father of this child or the children. Like I stated early on, imagine finding out through a health crisis. 40% of men are not the father of the child or those children. Yeah. So this is why I feel paternity tests need to be mandatory. You got too many men that are sitting out here taking care of babies that don't even belong to them. Some of them stay, some of them go. I know in my situation, when we found out that the guy that I was dating at the time wasn't the father of my son, he still wanted to be. And the family still wanted to be active in my son's life. But I said, that wasn't fair to y'all. Now, was I wrong in this situation? Yes and no. Because I didn't want them to look at my child as, well, that's not really your child. So why, you know what I'm saying? It was the what ifs. So I chose and said, that wouldn't be fair to you to step in and take care of a child that you knowingly know doesn't belong to you. Did I make the right decision or did I not? Some days I feel like I made the right decision. Some days I feel like I don't. Would my son have had a better life had I had chosen to allow the man that wasn't my son's biological father still be active in his life? Would things have changed after he, got married? When he got married and had his own biological children, would that change? But I think in that moment, I was thinking in the best interest of my child. But some days I wonder, even after we got the paternity test and we found out, was that the best decision for my son? I don't know. Who knows? I wonder if my son, I should have, well, my son had the word tonight. So maybe I'm going to ask my son that tonight. I'm going to ask him. So Tashina says she mad about, she mad about it. Her and not him made me angry. She told me it's a lot of hurt there. Absolutely. And she said, that's wild. Wow. 40%. So just imagine you having to sit on the other end of that line and tell a person, this is not your biological child or your children. Or finding out during a health crisis. Or finding out on your deathbed that the man that you've been calling your father for 20 years, 10 years, 30 years, 50 years is not really your biological father. And that all the while, your biological father has been living down the street from you. Or you've been passing by this man every day for the last 20, 30 years of your life and you never knew that was your biological father. Very disheartening. Very sad. But this is what happens. This is the harsh reality of skeletons coming out of the closet. Mm. Will this ever end? Can we get a bill passed? I guess that's almost like me rolling into my final thought. But can we get a House bill passed? Like 2689 that Tennessee has passed. That's stopping unmarried fathers from signing birth certificates without a paternity test. Will we see this trickle on? Will other states take this on as well? Will they adopt a bill similar to this? I hope so. Because there are a lot of fatherless children out here, and you mothers need to take accountability for that. You mothers need to own that. You mothers need to address that and take ownership of that. Hold yourself accountable for the lies. Because again, when you tell one lie, you got to tell 2 or 3 more to cover up the first lie. Who's left to hold the bag of pain? The children. The men that you purposely and selfishly lied on. For you to intentionally go knowingly defraud the system for your own personal gain, I feel like you need to be locked up. You need to be penalized some kind of way, criminally. Not just on the civil side, but on the criminal side. I feel like you should go to jail. Maybe that'll stop you. Maybe this will curtail and bring the percentage down of men not being fathers biologically. You women, Imma always hold you accountable, but Imma always do it through a channel of love. But I really want you women to stop and think about the child or the children for a moment. I need you to put the child or the children first. That's what I need you to do. Because they are the only ones that end up hurt once the dust settles. And they're left holding the bag of pain that you created and you implemented on them. We gotta do better. 40%, that's a lot of men. That's a lot of children not knowing who their biological fathers are because you wanna keep a secret. All I ask is that before you leave this earth, give your child or children the truth. No matter how much it hurts, they deserve to know. And Imma end on that. Imma end on that. Whew. That was beautiful conversation, but a much needed, warranted conversation. But going into the upcoming episodes for Black Girl Interrupted, again, y'all know I am live every Tuesday and every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time tomorrow night. I will be bringing you the updates on the case of Tyree Nichols. For those that may not remember, back in January of I'm so sorry, January 6th of 2023, Tyree Nichols was stopped and pulled over in Memphis, Tennessee, and he was brutally beaten by 5 Black police officers. And 2 days later, I wanna say I wanna say it happened on the 5th, and he passed away on the 7th, or it happened on the 6th and he passed away on the 8th, but there have been some updates with regards to the case, and I wanna definitely keep you guys updated on that. So that will be tomorrow night's conversation, and then, again, I will see you guys back next week. So again, tomorrow night, I will be bringing you the update on Tyree Nichols on the case. I know the trial is, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it is slated to start in November. But I'm gonna bring you the updates with regards to the Tyree Nichols case. Um, and that is tomorrow night, again, 8:30 p.m. Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time. Again, you could catch me streaming live on Facebook as well as on uh YouTube. Also, again, effective November, I believe it's the 1st. I need to go back, but the 1st Tuesday in November, going forward, I will only stream live to YouTube and Facebook on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, I will be streaming on Instagram or TikTok. I'm trying to still decide between the 2. Um, Also, Black Girl Interrupted presents the Black Carpet Experience has actually been put to the side. That will actually launch in January. So I had to put the finishing touches on that. So I couldn't roll it out this month like last month like I wanted to. Still had some final touches that loose ends that I had to put together. So the Black Carpet Experience will roll out after the first of the year. So I had to push it back. Unfortunately, I had to put that down on the back burner. Um, but tomorrow I will bring y'all some great and exciting news after I present y'all the update on the Tyree Nichols case because there are some beautiful things that are coming about for Black Girl Interrupted podcast that I cannot wait to share with you guys. But on that note, again, Black Girl Interrupted, you can catch me live every Tuesday, every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time. Again, until the end of October, I will be streaming on Facebook and YouTube live. But after next month on Wednesdays, I will only be on Instagram or TikTok. So if you don't follow me there, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is under Black Girl Interrupted Podcast, or you can subscribe anywhere you listen to your podcast. Also, y'all, tonight's episode, I am asking y'all on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast at, please go and leave me a review on tonight's episode or any of the past episodes. Let me know what I could do better, what you liked about the show, what you didn't like about the show, anything so I can make it better for the new year. But on that note, I love you guys. Again, happy Tuesday. I hope everyone has a great and beautiful night. And I will see y'all tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Central time, same place. Love y'all and thank y'all again for tuning in to another episode of Black Girl Interrupted. I'm a holla. Love y'all. Oh, how my baby do it? However she be doing it. I don't know. But I'll see y'all tomorrow night. I love y'all. Sleep well. Be blessed. And look, tomorrow is Wednesday. Y'all gonna be all right. We halfway through the week, baby. We done made it. We done made it. Okay? We done made it. I love you too, brother. I promise I do. Tashina, I love you. Y'all not finna get me trying to do my little fingers in. There we go. I got it. There we go. I got it. But I love y'all. Hearts, 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 love. Sleep well tonight. Like I said, whatever happened today, leave it today because tomorrow you get another chance to try it again. Love y'all. Good night.